Hey, gals and guys, this is Christopher Mosier from MyMediaHelper.com, and we are going to continue with our second part of the Toxic Avenger, my series, review series of the 4-movie series, the quadropology, quadropology. I think I got it this time. 4 films. The first one, if you watched the first video, I absolutely loved and adored it. It was good. And then these two, the two I'm going to talk about, these two shitfests came along. And I guess to what I understand, they were shot back to back, or they were, how did it go? So they were shot, and I guess they had too much footage. And please, Toxie fans, tell me if I'm wrong here. And they had to go out and film additional footage in order to make 2 separate films. So anyways, these films were filmed back to back, and it does look like that's what they did, because there's, in the second one specifically, there's so much stupid fucking shitty filler in the middle. It makes no sense. So the opening of Toxic Avenger 2 is, I loved it. It was funny. It was great. They had this big fight scene. There's like all these henchmen are coming out of the same limousine car, big car, and just like waves and waves of them. And the kills were pretty inventive, and overall it was really good. And then they threw in this plot element of the Avenger, the Toxic Avenger, going to Japan to find his fucking father, and it just slowed just to a halt. There was no creativity. There was no good fight scenes. It was just boring as shit. There was like a fight scene in a Japanese bathhouse, which was terrible. I mean, there was a lot of Japanese boobies, which I'm always into girls and boobies. That's a good thing. That's a big thing of mine. But boring, unimaginative, just schlocky crap. It's like they just grabbed their camera and the actor that played Toxie and a couple other, I don't know, actors they hired in Japan or wherever, and they just went wherever they could and filmed real quick. It was just that terrible. And then at the end, it kind of redeemed itself, but at that point, it wasn't a cohesive film. It was really, I was very disappointed. And then part 3 came along, where the villain from the second movie was the villain in the third movie, and he turned out to be the devil from hell. And it was just, it was the third one. I tuned out the second one too in the middle, and the third one I just tuned totally out, and I was just not interested, and I was bored, and I just wanted to get it over with. And then so I'm going to go further into it, play the trailers and everything like I normally do, and do a more cohesive backstory and everything. So I guess let's get into that.
As I show in the beginning of all my movie review videos, here are some free streaming services where you can watch movies and shows streaming for free. There is no lack of content on there in any genre or demographic you can think of. This is where you can put your thoughts and comments if you wish. I also have the links down in the description of each movie I talk about. This is the Voodoo logo because this is the place I watch these 2 crappy movies. If you can make it through watching Toxic Avenger 2 and 3, you can pretty much make it through anything in life. This is the original cast of Three's Company. The Toxic Avenger, the hideously deformed creature of superhuman size and strength, is back. This time he's battling the evil Apocalypse Incorporated and his own psychological troubles. After destroying a recreation center for the blind, the Apocalypse thugs are all defeated by Toxie in a pointlessly long confrontation of sight gags and bad jokes. Realizing that they can't defeat Toxie, Apocalypse Incorporated hatches a plan to send him to Japan, kill him, and take over Tromaville. Toxie's psychiatrist works for Apocalypse and tells our hero that he needs to find his father. Toxie is overjoyed to hear that his dad is in Tokyo and quickly sets off to find him. And the whole Japanese thing is where the film totally lost me. The long, big, silly fight scene at the blind home was pretty funny as wave after wave of henchmen appeared from out of the same limousine with some extremely obscure personalities. I enjoyed every stupid bit of it. When it got to the point they wanted to lure the Toxic Avenger out of Tromaville and to Japan is when the movie jumped the shark. It was already jumping in the first place. This movie that I was enjoying turned into a boring pile of shit. I tuned out mentally a few times because I was so bored with it. The film regains traction when the Toxic Avenger returns to Tromaville. The whole Japanese bullshit just zoom right through. It's all weirdly shot. I'm guessing guerrilla shot with Zippo permits and no script. Just scenes slapped together that didn't particularly make any sense. Not that this series makes sense in the first place, but at least it's a controlled environment. It had some kind of narrative. A madcap chase ensues as Toxie commandeers a cab and tries to stop the nitroglycerin-clad motorcyclist from driving into City Hall. The cab is blown up in a car wreck. Toxie then commandeers a hydroplane, a boat with a huge fan on the back, and continues the chase. Toxie cuts off the Dark Rider, who then crashes into a small building and explodes. Toxie has returned peace back to Tromaville and meets his real father, Mac Junko. The evil chairman is trying to hitchhike out of Tromaville to no avail, but beware, Toxie. The chairman will be back in a big way. When production started, John Altamira played the Toxic Avenger, with Ron Fazio doing some doubling for mainly long shots of the character, as he was cast already as an Apocalypse Incorporated executive. However, according to the 2001 interview with Fazio, Altamira abused his authority by complaining about the makeup and had threatened some staff members, pushing Kaufman to fire Altamira. Kaufman then hired Fazio to play the Toxic Avenger when production moved to Tokyo, Japan. However, Kaufman kept the scenes with Altamira in the film. Hence, in the film's opening fight sequence, it is seen that both Fazio and Altamira face against each other, with Fazio playing the tiger-striped member of Apocalypse Incorporated who gets punched Exorcist-style by Altamira's Toxic Avenger. Fazio's voice would be used as the Toxic Avenger. In addition to the scenes filmed in Tokyo, other filming locations included New York City and New Jersey. Michael J. White made his film debut in the film, if you know him from the Spawn movies and several other Batman. Not only acted as member of Apocalypse Incorporated, but assisted with the film's fight sequences in New York, while Hitachi Kenma coordinated the film's action scenes in Japan. Lloyd Kaufman was told that the main Japanese actors, Rikiya Yasuko and Mayako Katsuragi, yes, I know I destroyed those, spoke English. However, upon his shooting the scenes, he was surprised to learn that Yasuko and Katsuragi's English was not good enough. During post-production, Lloyd hired his wife Patricia, who also appears in the film, as the blind mother, and at the time was the New York City Film Commissioner, to redub Katsuragi's voice, and co-creator producer Michael Herz redubbed Yasuko's voice. That was a mouthful. Toxic Avenger 2 and 3 both seem like patchwork. I did like the beginning of the film. After the first 15 to 20 minutes, it all went to shit. I mean, this thing was all over the place to the fact it looked like the filmmakers were just throwing stuff in there to increase the running time. And as discussed in the opening, that seems to be exactly what was going on here. If you're a Toxic Avenger fan, watch the first act. It's enjoyable. The rest of the film, not so much.
The Toxic Avenger Part 3, The Last Temptation of Toxie from 1989. Toxie returns to battle the Apocalypse Incorporated again. Since he wants to get eye surgery for Claire, he needs cash. Our desperate hero signs a contract with the chairman, which is really a contract for Toxie's own soul. And in the end, he comes out on top with a little help from God. In the tradition of the Toxic Avenger and the Last Temptation of Christ comes the Toxic Avenger Part 3, The Last Temptation of Toxie. Sure. The third, once again, pits our beloved character Toxie against Apocalypse Corporation. Toxie is terribly bored since there is no longer evil in Tromaville and resorts to stopping old ladies, cheating at cards, making little kids eat their veggies, and other demeaning things. Meanwhile, the chairman of the Apocalypse Incorporated comes up with a plan. Why doesn't he put Toxie on the payroll? So he hires Toxie, is overtaken with greed. Toxie is so excited that he has money for Claire's eye operation that he doesn't realize anything strange about the whole deal. Just reading the whole plot summary makes me feel stupid. Toxie continues to work for Apocalypse. He whistles joyfully as he condemns people's houses, leads people into Agent Orange plants, okay, and, well, other bad stuff. Claire gets her eye operation and screams when she sees a good-looking doctor, thinking that it's Toxie. But when she lays her eyes on Toxie, she falls in love with him all over again. So that evening, the two lovebirds engage in some nice, rough sex. As the film progresses, Claire confronts Toxie, telling him that he's changed a lot. And as Toxie sits in his thinking spot, he realizes the awful mistake he's made. From there, Toxie begins to clean up Tromaville of the Apocalypse Incorporated's presence, starting with a violent battle in a video store. Toxie takes out all the bad guys and even jumps rope with a piece of the guy's intestines. Eventually, Toxie makes his way to the Apocalypse main base, which is ironically located in a church. As Toxie confronts the chairman, saying, "Your history, Mr. Chairman." The chairman exclaims, "I am history," and then transforms into a green, slimy devil. The almighty evil one challenges Toxie to a battle. If Toxie wins, their contract is broken. The devil chooses a video game as the showdown method. Toxie must complete and survive through 5 levels of doom, earth, fire, wind, water, and no one has made it to the last level. I've even been bored reading this plot summary, so you can imagine actually watching this piece of shit. The film was just a fucking mess. As already discussed, the film was made along with the Toxic Avenger Part 2, as Lloyd Kaufman made a 4-hour cut, which resulted in both Part 2 and this piece of unwatchable shit. Mark Torgel was asked to come back as Melvin for the final level of Doom sequence. Due to pay issues, ultimately declined to return and was replaced by Michael J. Kaplan. However, Torgel would return to the role in Citizen Toxie, the Toxic Avenger 4, which we will discuss in another video. It makes total sense that this was always supposed to be one film, as portions of both Toxic Avenger 2 and Toxic Avenger 3 movies look like they were thrown into a blender to be edited, going downhill hard from the very first Toxic Avenger film. Part 2 was terrible in the middle, but had some pretty funny bookends. This one is just plain stupid, not even close to a fun way. It was painful to watch and hard to get through. The first Toxic Avenger was clever in ways and hit some great comedy beats, an attempt at funny camp. This just generates a chorus of crickets. It was pretty disappointing, and the more and more I think about it, the more and more I really hate this movie. Skip it. There isn't one inspired scene here. In fact, skip both 2 and 3. Just watch the first Toxic Avenger and then the 4th. That's all you really need to get your Toxie fix.
Yeah, not good. Not good at all for the Toxic Avenger or the franchise or movie fans at all that love the original one. Not good at all. And the saving grace, I guess, if you could call it, is not only Toxic Avenger 4, which is going to be the next video, and I did enjoy that. I'll tell you why in the next one. It's the fact that the filmmakers knew it. It just seemed like, to what I read, there was some investor in Germany they met at the premiere of Toxic Avenger or something like that, who was already offering money up for the next film. I think it was more of a money grab without an idea. I mean, it was a long time ago. I was obviously I didn't work for him. I don't know what happened behind there. It's just what I took out of it to everything I read, and they just kind of threw these films together, 2 and 3, and I don't know. It's too bad. I was very disappointed because I love 1 so much, and then I was a little worried about 4, but then I went on Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb, and I saw the scores for 4. And it kind of gave me hope. What kind of hope? Well, you're going to have to tune in to the next of my trilogy review videos, of course. If you want to. I would appreciate it. Anyways, if you could please subscribe, that'd be awesome. Please like. I liked it. I mean, if you didn't like it, it's what shit. Turn it off and go about your day. I don't know what to tell you. Share with any Toxie fans or any movie schlocky superhero review fans who have never seen this and kind of want to get an idea what it's about. Personally, I would skip these 2 movies. They're not good. And then hit that bell for updates. And I think I covered everything. And I appreciate you as always. And I am going to see you later. Bye. And then I'm going to flex.